Indie sci-fi is taking over, and there's a movie that you have to see, you absolutely have to see, called Shifter. Let's talk to the directors. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore, and I am in heaven watching so many great indie movies that are coming out on VOD. Some of them are actually coming to the drive-in too. There's just some amazing stuff out there. And when I see a movie that I get excited about, my first thought is I want to talk to the filmmakers behind this film. I have Jacob and Zach Burns. They are the filmmakers behind Shifter. It's this amazing indie sci-fi film that not only, here's what I love about indie sci-fi. Can I gush for a little bit?
Please do.
Absolutely.
Okay. What I really love about independent sci-fi is that it tends to focus on ideas. That's what I really love most, is that indie sci-fi can really go deep, whereas a movie like The Rise of Skywalker has to have a lot of explosions and lightsabers. Like, not that you guys can't do that, but in fact, I want to talk about a lot of aspects of it, of your film, in particular the ideas, and then also the special effects, and that now this movie must be added to the list of movies that you have to see a second time in order to understand.
Yeah, I've heard it's got great replay value, which is a nice thing to hear as a filmmaker.
Yeah, well, tell me where this all came about. And I do want to talk about, you did a crowdfunding campaign to get this movie made. And I want to talk a little bit about that. But where did this whole thing come from? What was the inspiration for the story and all of that?
For sure. Yeah, it really started from a pretty simple place. Like I'm a fan of sci-fi and particularly time travel movies, and so I'd always hoped that someday I'd get to make a time travel movie. And the more I thought about it, I just kind of just wondered if there was maybe an approach or an aspect of time travel that hadn't really been explored yet, or not too much, or if there was some unique take we could have with it. So I kind of looked at a lot of time travel movies and just kind of noticed, there's some similar tropes and things that kind of come up. Again, I love them. There's nothing wrong with them, but I just wondered if there's something else we could try. And it really kind of was, I noticed a lot of time travel movies are comedies or like action movies, and stuff like that. Sometimes they're like kind of puzzle box movies. And so I really was as simple as, well, like what's the horror of time travel? What could be horrifying about time travel? And that's when I kind of brought it up to Zachary, and we kind of I don't know, do you want to talk about that, Zachary?
Sure. So Jacob basically just called me with and I think he literally just said, time travel horror movie, what is that? And so I went, I don't know what that is, but I'm interested to find out. And so we basically got together and went to a nice little place called Taco Bueno, had some tacos, and basically hung out for like 3 hours, just discussing what a time travel horror movie could be. And so I think it was from that 3-hour session where we kind of got the main seeds of the movie, where it was like, what if time travel was painful? What if it physically hurt to do this process, because it kind of seems like it would. You're being kind of ripped from one time and put into another, so it seems like that wouldn't be very fun. And then the other main idea of the movie, where it happens randomly, it's out of your control, and so you don't know when it's going to happen to you and when you're going to what time you're going to reappear in. And so I think that's kind of where we got the main basic seeds of the movie, and it just grew from there.
Well, when you look at the way time travel's been used in different films, like the Terminator series, the one thing they don't explain time travel that much, but you have to time travel naked. That is the one thing. You have to be naked.
Yeah.
You have to be naked when you time travel. Back to the Future, of course, plays it very playfully.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because I really think this is what I love about your film, is that I didn't 100% understand it. And I think that that's a good thing, because I have to watch it a second time. I'll admit I've only seen it once, but it reminds me of an essay. I think it was written by David Cronenberg when he was talking about teleportation and teleportation, how it might work in the Star Trek universe, where basically you're breaking down all these molecules and atoms, right? You're reforming them, but what you're doing is you're killing the previous version of yourself.
Yeah.
You teleport to another place, but the version of you that died isn't aware that it's dead, and the new version isn't aware that you know what I mean? Like, it's got all the data that was stored. So I remember that really stuck with me. I mean, Cronenberg. And this reminded me of, I don't know why that essay that I read years ago popped into my head when I saw your film. I feel like there's aspects of it. And there's some, I mean, the special effects, you have to talk about the special effects. There's a really cool way. I mean, there's amazing, especially with indie sci-fi now, incredible stuff you can do with special effects. And there's an incredibly unique way. I'm really glad I didn't see the trailer for this movie before I saw the film, but there's a really unique way that the time travel horror aspect plays out.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's ruined in the trailer, but that's okay. Like, but there's where did that inspiration come from? And it's so horrific. And as you know, it's going to happen when it's coming, it's sort of this thing that's hanging over, parts of the story of the film.
Yeah.
Where did that come from, and how did you guys achieve that?
Yeah, it was definitely kind of a process that evolved over even before we shot like our Indiegogo campaign video. We kind of had an early version of that in we made like a concept trailer, and then we did some like kind of concept art. But yeah, really, we're mostly kind of came from was almost this idea of I kind of looked at images and stuff like that of like planets and buildings and stuff like that imploding. And so I just thought like, well, what if that was happening to a person, just thinking it to a very base level, like your body's being broken down and put back together. So just kind of this assumption of, well, maybe if it's kind of an implosion type thing. And then it kind of grew from there. And then as we did the VFX and experimented with it, our VFX guy that was named Matt Gardocki, and he's done a lot of great work over the years. And so he kind of brought in almost this kind of, it almost looks like the body's like kind of cracking to a certain extent. It's kind of these cracks, or like we kind of call them tendrils that were kind of growing out and just kind of spreading across the body. It almost kind of looks cancerous in a way too. That's it just kind of evolved over a long time. But yeah, we were, I'm glad to hear you liked him. It was something we spent a lot of time on.
Well, it's something I've never seen in a film done that way. So I thought it was just incredibly unique. Also the use of sound, which I thought was fantastic. Oh. And then there's a thing you do. I kind of want to talk about a particular scene, but I don't want to give away too much about the movie, but there's the date scene. I thought that was so incredible, where the character goes on a date and then kind of derails, gets some information that's upsetting, and then revisits the same date. I thought that was played. That was such a great scene. That's when I was like, oh my God. Like I already was liking aspects. Like I really like a science fiction film that takes its time. You know what I mean? It just, that you spend time with the character. And so I thought that date scene was fantastic. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Of course. Yeah, that was a really, really fun scene to shoot. We love, I really thought Nicole, who plays Teresa, and then Stephen Goodman, who plays the asshole, basically. They're both just great actors, great people to work with. But yeah, it was definitely, that was kind of a earlier part of the movie where we're kind of like, let's really play up that this is a time travel movie. Let's really play up that. And then from there, the movie kind of takes a different turn and kind of leans away from some of the things you see in time travel movies. But yeah, that was definitely a lot of fun. And anytime we did stuff like that throughout the movie was always a continuity challenge, making sure, because having to shoot, unfortunately, Nicole's great, but she can't split herself into two bodies and act two different characters at the same time. So we have to shoot those separately. Trying to think of anything else of note in that scene. But yeah, that was definitely a really fun scene. Anytime we got to do stuff like that was a lot of fun.
I just thought it was really well played, and then there's sort of deeper layers to it, which I thought were great, but I don't want to give too much away. Another aspect of the film I thought was really well used is, they wrote a book about it, Save the Cat, right? Which is all about, which is about screenwriting, right? how do you immediately like a character? Well, you save a cat. I mean, Superman in the original Richard Donner version saves a cat from a tree. Ripley, of course, famously in the first Alien movie, goes back for the cat, right? Like,
true, yeah.
But it immediately gets you to like a character if a character is willing to, help something small like a pet or save some, you know what I mean? Like, so tell me about, they say that one of the things never work with kids or animals. Well, you worked with a cat, but the cat is so well utilized. So whose cat was it? And then how what were the discussions about making that work so it wasn't like torturous on the set? I mean, cats, it's hard to train cats as opposed to dogs, right? Dogs, you can teach tricks. Cats, they're doing their own thing. You're on their time. So so tell me about working with the cat, and whose was it?
Do you want to take that one, Zachary?
Yeah, that was our friend and a great actor, Alan Davidson. It was his cat, and basically,
Cleopatra.
Cleopatra, the kitty, Cleo for short. And I think basically the main reason we used his cat was because it was at least leash trained, so it was comfortable to being on a leash, which we needed the cat to be on a leash for at least some of the scenes in the barn, because that's just an open barn. If the cat got loose, like, we'd probably never see it again. So we had the cat on a leash in those scenes that Matt Gardocki used his VFX magic to erase. But yeah, we basically filmed all the scenes with the cat in one day. It was a Saturday, so we called it Catterday. And it was just a cat-centric day. We just every scene or every one specific shot that we needed the cat in, we did it on that one day. And basically the first half of the day was us just waiting for the cat to get comfortable with the space. Because it was that we were at the farmhouse, which the cat had never been to before. And of course, the people who own the location have a dog who wasn't there while we were filming, but the cat could obviously smell the dog and was not happy to be smelling that. So the cat just did not like that house at all. So yeah, basically the first half of the day was just waiting for the cat to get comfortable with the space. And then the second half of the day was just running around the entire property, getting every scene or every shot. So it was a struggle, but I think it worked out.
Did you have you must have had a shot list of everything, because the cat is in the whole movie. I'm kind of shocked to hear you got it basically all in half a day.
Yeah. So what we did was, we didn't shoot the full scene. So we shot, if the cat wasn't in the shot, then we probably shot the rest of that scene a different day. And then we just really kept track of if we had already shot those scenes where the cat was supposed to be. We had the shot planned out at least where it was. And then, so then on the day it was a matter of, okay, we're in the kitchen. Let's shoot every shot in the movie of the cat in the kitchen. And then we just kind of moved around and kept track of what the lighting had been like in those scenes. And then, and there are some cases where we shot the cat shot before we shot the rest of the scene. So we just had to keep track of that. And then one thing we did going into planning and even at the script writing phase, because we knew it's funny. I actually did try to find a way to not have the cat in the movie. I was like, is there a version of this without the cat? And it just felt like we really needed something for that character, for Teresa, to connect to. Like you said, we really needed a way because the people around her in the movie, the other characters, aren't great. And so we really needed someone that she could, or something that she could relate to. So anyways, but when we wrote the scenes with the cat, we really were tried to be very careful as to not write that the cat needs to do specific things. So we didn't say the cat, hops from here and then hops here and then licks from this thing and whatever. We tried to make it more of the cat is just present, and if we can at least get the cat to look towards get her eye line right, which usually meant me and Zachary and anybody else in the crew standing behind the camera going, hey kitty, over here, you look over here.
As simple as that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're playing with the cat.
Yeah, exactly. So and then so it was definitely a challenge, and we did have to do, like any movie, we kind of had we built in kind of a pickup day that we shot later on, and I think we did a couple of pickups with the cat. But for the most part, most of the cat stuff was shot within a 6-hour period on a Saturday.
Well, Cleo did an amazing job, and
Right.
it's not to bring up a Star Wars movie again, but I remember reading an interview with one of the editors of the recent Star Wars sequels, and said, when in doubt, just cut away to BB-8, right? It was just like you just do a cutaway like a reaction shot, and I kind of feel like you use the cat in the same way, like to just have Teresa, your lead, like in this situation where it's just herself, but to be able to cut away to the cat, either her looking at it or the reaction of the cat, I thought it was just so effective. I don't think you can underestimate how much it really helped the film.
That's great to hear. That's really great to hear. And yeah, there were definitely moments that we kind of found in editing. Once we had all these shots with the cat, then we could kind of create those like interactions between her and the cat. Like, it's a few times where the cat like looks like it's really listening intently to her, and then just like casually looks away. And like we can't plan that. That just happened. The cat did that, and then it just kind of worked out in the edit. We could find those little moments like that, trying to, even though the cat can't like have a conversation with her, try to make its personality kind of come out and kind of showcase their relationship.
Now, you guys made this film, which, you could maybe say, hey, this is like a Black Mirror episode. It certainly has like budget and production value wise. It's toe and toe with that. I don't know what the budgets of those Black Mirror episodes are, but it's got that like intense and high production value feel. You financed this with a crowdfunding campaign. Did you use Indiegogo or Kickstarter?
Indiegogo, yeah.
I am always in awe of any, because I've done 2 successful Kickstarter campaigns in my life, just only 2,
Yeah.
and another 2 or 3 unsuccessful campaigns. It is not easy to do. For other filmmakers or creators out there, did you make your goal? Obviously you made your goal because the campaign exists, but I feel like the thing that I walked away with in the ones that I've done is the way to do a successful Kickstarter campaign is to do a failed one first. Then you find out what works. Then you just redo that campaign, and then you fix all the things you did wrong. Can you kind of bullet point for us just like some of the things that you learned from that and just your experience with crowdfunding, which I think has been a godsend for indie filmmakers?
Yeah, it was our we'd made a feature film a few years before that I directed called Electric Nostalgia, and we'd done a campaign for that one as well, and that was a huge learning experience. And I think we even learned even more the second time around with Shifter. But yeah, like kind of our approach is the main thing is really your campaign video is like super important, like to really showcase that. The main thing is, will the project actually get finished? And then 2, is it going to be good? Because there's, like you said, there's a lot of them. I know I've contributed to campaigns that the movie never got filmed or never got finished for whatever reason. And so like you really want to sell to people that if they give to this, then they will get a finished product eventually. And so like what we did was we kind of we made it not just about us, but we tried to bring in some other people that we've worked with. We both are freelancers and work on other people's projects, and kind of brought them in to kind of have like kind of testimonial bit where they talk about how how great we are to work with, basically, and then and how reliable we are and stuff like that. And then we made a concept trailer that kind of was a really simplified glimpse of what the style and the aesthetic. Didn't really give any like story details or anything like that. It was just a very quick. I think it was about a minute long, and it was mostly shots kind of with the camera kind of going through the barn. Eventually we see the machine and we see a hand on the glass. And then from there, it's just it really is. You hear people say it, but it's really true. It's a full-time job. Like you can't just post it on your Facebook page and hope that people will go to it. You really have to get. Frankly, you have to get in their faces and really get in front of them. And it's a lot of directly asking people, will they contribute to your campaign? We found something that we wish we'd discovered earlier was matching funds. So if you're a filmmaker and you're trying to do an Indiegogo, try to find someone who's willing to like do matching funds of like $500 or something like that. Because then all of a sudden, a lot of people who maybe were a little leery about doing it, because they're like, oh, I can only get $15. It's not anything. Well, if they give in this 24-hour period, someone's going to match their $15, and suddenly their $15 is $30. So usually those days that we did, those like matching days, our fundraising that day went through the roof, and we usually blew past those matching funds really, really quickly. So yeah, it's a lot of work. It's kind of those things like we're glad we did it, and we're glad it's out there. We kind of hope we don't have to do it again, but we're very, very lucky that we just a lot of great people, and it's such a great feeling to have so many people excited for something you're working on, and being so supportive, and it kind of gives you a built-in fan base for the couple of years it takes to make the movie. You can keep, as long as you keep them engaged, they're going to be hyped up, and now that the movie's about to be released, they're going to be probably the people first in line to get it. So yeah, it's a struggle, but it's a good thing.
Well, I found you're right. Direct ask is the thing that works the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
The matching funds, I'd never heard that before. That's a good suggestion. But the one thing, I've contributed to a lot of Kickstarters myself, or Indiegogos, and it's fun to be a part of it. One thing I think you can count on is it will not be done on time. Every Kickstarter, and I don't care. I know what it's like. I contributed to one that years ago that is finally coming out. I'm just excited. Was yours late, and by how late was it? I think it was late.
Yeah, it was probably on time-ish for us. Our first one was definitely, it took way longer to get the movie. But this one we actually got it out pretty quickly. We finished shooting in early 2019, right, Zachary? Like February. Yeah. And then we had our world premiere in March of this year. So for us, that felt like we were just zooming through it. Yeah. But I'm sure, but that being said, for the people who contributed to our campaign, the campaign was in like early 2018.
It was in the middle of 2018, yeah.
Later. So for them, I'm sure it feels like a long time.
Yeah, that just seems like the normal timeline to me. And I mean, gosh, big studio movies are getting pushed back.
Yeah.
I mean, you're lucky that you guys got to come out like just before, everything hit. And now you're coming to VOD, and give me the details on the release.
Sure.
Yeah, so we're going to be on digital and VOD August 6th. You can pre-order on iTunes right now, which is very cool. But yeah, it's what else is there to say?
First of all, I think it's a golden age for indie film right now, because look, we can only watch so much of the studio stuff that's coming out. Trolls World Tour. Oh my God. I feel like I see that on the theaters, on demand, blah, blah, blah. Like, come on, there's more stuff. Like for me, whenever I would go into a video store, remember video stores? Whenever I would go into a video store, it's always like, okay, I see the new releases shelf or the mainstream Hollywood stuff. I'm always the one looking at the bottom shelf or around the corner, for the cool stuff. And I kind of feel like we're in a golden age of that. And, part of the reason of doing this podcast and part of our mission at Film Thread is to highlight these movies. If you subsist on a diet of only fast food, studio films, it's not healthy. So I really appreciate, what you did with this film is amazing. I do need to see it a second time.
Yeah.
And so, I have two, I know we're way over time on I don't know if you guys can stick around.
Yeah.
Is that cool? Okay. So two things. One, I want to ask you what it's like to work as brothers. You seem to,
it's awful. No, it's
you seem to be very much in sync.
Yeah, we it's one of those things. We both were very young when we kind of discovered our love of movies. Our dad was a big film buff, so we kind of at a pretty early age were watching different types of movies than kids our age. We were watching silent films and the Universal horror monster movies, like when we were in first and second grade and stuff like that. And so we just kind of had a really early love for those type of movies and movies in general. And so I pretty early, as early as I think third grade, I told my school counselor I was going to be a filmmaker when I grew up. And so I've kind of always had that plan, life plan for me. Probably it was around like sixth grade, I think. I got my hands on a VHS camera back in the day. And we started making little movies. And of course, Zachary was always there and always helping out with those, usually acting in them. But but so we kept doing that, and we just kind of almost really didn't stop even through middle school, high school. We just kind of kept making movies, and hopefully they've gotten bigger and hopefully better as well.
Hopefully, yeah.
But yeah, we've just kind of always done it. I went to film school. Zachary went to school for photography, but he ended up hanging out with a lot of the film school kids just because it's a more collaborative group of, because we need more than one person to make a movie. So he ended up hanging out with us. And so, yeah, kind of same thing. And that's when we met Vinny, who's our producing partner, who couldn't be here today, unfortunately. But we also met him in film school. And yeah, the three of us started making stuff and just always have. So, yeah, but as me and Zachary as brothers, like, it's just kind of we've always been pretty in sync. A lot of people think we're twins. We're not, but we might as well be.
I was going to ask. Well, I really want to thank you guys, Jacob and Zach Burns, the movie Shifter. It's fantastic. I really encourage everyone to see it. I want to thank you. I also want to thank our sponsor, Storyblocks. If you're a filmmaker, storyblocks.com, go to storyblocks.com/filmthreat. There's a deal for filmmakers there. It's an incredible resource for filmmakers, stock footage, special effects, all sorts of tools, music. It's worth every penny. We use it at Film Threat for our projects. And yes, go to storyblocks.com/filmthreat. Oh wait, I had another question, but I think this could be a spoiler. So if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the movie yet, please don't listen to the rest of this podcast. But I do want to ask, because like, I really feel like when you're dealing with any sort of time travel movie, you've got to kind of have like the chronology and the timeline. I think the one for Back to the Future is very simple, right? It's easily trackable and very understood. And there's always a character. I feel like there's Chris Nolan movies always have a character that's sort of Captain Narrative. That it's like, well, if the train reaches the so-and-so, it'll blow up and then people will die. Like and a lot of genre movies, especially ones made by studios, have that Captain Narrative character that explains things. You don't have that. And I feel that was a smart choice. Not that you can't easily understand what's going on, but it's not spelled out for you. And I love that. I love that aspect. But did you take time, because there's the screenplay as one document, right, to make the movie, but then did you have like here's how it all, like a chronology of like basically so that the logic made sense to you guys? Because I actually don't think you can follow it on first viewing, because I was unable to. So, or at least I like to think that other people would have, but I mean that's like, I mean, there's other movies. I did an article about a bunch of films where you have to watch them a second time to understand them. Like I think Inception is one of those films. So, but did you put effort into creating some type of timeline or something that would spell out the logic so you guys got it, even if the audience you didn't spell it out to the audience?
Yeah, for sure. It was kind of one of those things. We definitely, again, going kind of back, we were trying to avoid what all the other time travel movies had done, and so it was kind of a purposeful. We want to put all the rules of time travel and stuff like that are secondary to the character. And so like we put most of our focus on her throughout the movie, and all of our effort in the script and stuff like that was mostly about her. But yeah, we definitely wanted to make sure that, at least it kind of, some sort of internal logic that you could watch it and at least generally figure out the mechanics of what was going on and the science of this time travel. I think I heard someone say there's a quote that like, the best time travel movies have to be a little bit stupid. And, like I think what that means is just like, it's not necessarily that they're dumb, but just like, the rules. And like, if you over explain it and get too sciencey, then the whole movie can just get too bogged down. And we just kind of, our goal was to like give just enough that the audience can like go with the flow and generally understand what's going on, but not to the point that it's coming to the forefront and we're spending too much time explaining science terms and stuff like that, and getting in the way of the characters. So yeah, it was definitely a major challenge in the script, and even simple things like the trailer. Like, how do we get the plot and the story across when there's really no one in the movie who explains what the plot or the story is, which you get in most other sci-fi and horror movies. And so it was definitely a major challenge. Like, how do we make sure? And I think that's another reason why the cat came in handy sometimes, is it kind of gave us an excuse for her to like kind of talk things out loud to the cat. But even then, we only do that in 1 or 2 scenes. We do it very, very, very little. So yeah, it was definitely, let's give ourselves an internal logic that we kind of understand, and will give us, make sure we have some rules that we follow. But again, they weren't the forefront of what people are going to be looking for when they're watching the movie, hopefully.
Well, I think less is more, and the way that you approached it was great, because now I have to watch the movie a second time. I have to see it a second time. Zach and Jacob, thank you so much for being on the Film Threat podcast, and congrats on the movie Shifter. It's fantastic. I just had a great time. I encourage everyone to check it out.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, man.
Cool. It was fun.